Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the Hatton's virtual store. As you may already be aware, the physical store is unfortunately closed at the moment due to the coronavirus problems that everybody's experiencing. But we thought we'd take the opportunity to introduce ourselves and to see if there's anything that we can do to give you advice and information. This is a Hello, Can We Help session. My name's John, and I'm just going to hand over to my colleague.
My name's Brian.
And we're going to see if we have anybody who is waiting to ask us any questions. We might have product inquiries that we could help you with, things of that nature. So in the meantime, while we're waiting to see if anybody wants to have a little chat with us, we thought we'd explain a little bit about ourselves, because we've both been railway modelers for a considerable number of years, and probably between us we'd be able to help people answer most things. Wouldn't you say so, Brian?
Certainly would.
Well, for example, one thing that caught Brian and myself by surprise was the arrival of this little beauty here. It's the latest version of the Hornby Princess. What we have here is the Princess Elizabeth. Running number is 6201. The Hornby reference is R3709. Now, we're not doing a hard sell on this, definitely not, but one thing that quite surprised us, myself in particular, was that Hornby have included a firebox glow feature in this loco. That's something we've not seen from Hornby for a long time, is it, Brian?
It certainly isn't. It's very rare for it to actually be incorporated into a model.
Yeah. Now, I've noticed that Hornby are going to be producing this one as a factory-fitted DCC version as well. So that's going to be handy for people who may not necessarily want to be involved in taking the loco apart to fit a decoder into it. But, Brian, am I right in thinking that if somebody wanted to actually have DCC sound fitted to this loco, or indeed to any loco, you can't just upgrade the existing chip, can you?
You can't. You'd have to fit either a TTS decoder from the Hornby range, or you can have a ESU V5 decoder fitted.
Now, would that mean that you'd have to take the original factory-fitted DCC decoder out first?
You certainly would.
Right.
The sound decoder will replace the existing decoder in the actual model.
Because we do get sometimes people asking if it's possible to upgrade a DCC decoder to a sound decoder, but it does require the physical removal of one and the putting in of the other, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Right, okay. Yes, an interesting model, this. Hornby's models, I think, have come on in leaps and bounds in recent years. It's in the form that it ran for most of its life, with the larger capacity tender. When it first came out, it was the real thing, that is. It was running with a much smaller capacity tender. But this is the version of the Hornby Princess that most people, I think, will be familiar with. If you've been modelling for several years, shall we say, as I have, then you're probably familiar with the original Triang Princess, which came out originally in black, then in green, and then in maroon. And that was in the Triang Hornby, later Hornby Railways range for many, many years. And I think this is an interesting nod towards Hornby's heritage, in that they've wanted, I think, to keep having a princess in their range. Don't you think so, Brian?
Certainly do.
Yeah.
There's also LMS Period 3 coaches available in the range as well, to complement to go with the loco.
I think the latest Hornby coaches are absolutely fantastic. They've produced those LMS Period 3 ones, as you were saying, but they've also got some fantastic LNAR teaks out, haven't they?
They certainly have.
And they've done some Colic coaches as well, haven't they? And in fact, they've done Southern and they've done Pullmans as well. So I think overall there's a very good range of Hornby coaches available, isn't there?
Certainly is, especially to go with the loco to complement it.
Oh, to go with this one, yes. I suppose the only thing that people need to bear in mind is with Hornby coaches, Hornby locos, and with anything these days, all items when they're produced tend to nowadays be a limited production run, don't they?
You do. So if you see a loco that you like and don't pre-order it, there is a good chance that you might miss out.
Yeah, I mean, quite often the manufacturers are able to do a further production run, but you can't always guarantee that that would be within the following few weeks or months.
No.
Sometimes it might be 6 months or a year later.
It certainly is.
Yeah. Well, that's a very interesting loco that we would like to show you there. I think as things are quiet at the moment, we've got a couple of people there who have logged in. And who have we got who's watching us so far, Brian?
Jack's trained and Warren from the US. Hi to you both.
Warren from the United States of America. Right. Well, good afternoon to you both, as Brian says. Oh, and we have a few more comments. There we go. What have we got there, Brian?
Okay, so Warren's asking why is that the cause? Wouldn't mass production be bringing the cost down?
There's no such thing as mass production these days. Unfortunately, it's batch production. These items are very detailed, and what tends to happen is the manufacturers will book production slots in the factories once the tooling has been test run, and then a batch of items, whether it's locomotive, coaches, wagons, or whatever, will be produced. Once that batch has been produced, then the production lines then tend to be cleared, the tooling put away safely, and the production line then turned over to the production of something else completely different.
Yes. So they try to gauge the popularity of the item to warrant the amount that they produce as well.
Yes, I think there's probably a bit of intelligent guesswork in there. But having said that, these manufacturers, Hornby, Bachmann, Dapol, Helgen, whomever, ourselves as well included, do tend to have a fairly accurate idea of how many of a particular item they think will sell, because they don't want to underproduce, but equally they don't want to overproduce and then end up with unsold stock in the warehouse shelves or on retailers' shelves, because that wouldn't be good for anybody, would it, Brian?
Certainly wouldn't.
Do we have any other people who would like to be getting in touch with us at the moment? Any other comments that we can see there at all, Brian?
I can't see any so far, but we've got Charles from Plymouth who says hi.
Oh, good afternoon to you, Charles. Let's hope the weather in Plymouth is slightly more pleasant than it is here. It's not raining, but I would say it's dull and overcast. How are things in Plymouth, Charles? Let us know. Anything else at all, Brian, there on our message board?
Nothing so far. If you do have any questions, do let us know. We try our best to answer them as best we can.
Yep, that's the idea of us being here. As we said in the introduction, with the actual physical store being closed, we thought we'd offer the opportunity for people to open the door of our virtual store and see if they want to have a chat with Brian or myself and see if you have any questions that we might be able to assist you with. Because model railways is a vast and wide-ranging hobby. It covers all sorts. I mean, as you can probably guess, Brian tends to be more interested in, shall we say, the more modern side of things. Is that right?
Yes, we've just seen Class 158 Productions join us.
Oh, so we've got somebody else watching us as well.
Yes.
Oh, well, good afternoon to all of you. Yes, this is an experiment that we're conducting to see if there's going to be any demand for not a question and answer session, but really a session where we might be able to offer advice and guidance to people.
Yes, Class 158 Productions says, hi, do we know the effects on already delayed models, e.g. the Mark III slim doors? They were due to be released this month or next, but as you can guess, they're going to be put back, so we're just waiting on a new release date from them for Hornby.
We make sure that we keep our website updated with release date information as soon as it becomes available from all the manufacturers, ourselves included. But of course, our customer there is quite right. The COVID-19 situation has had a real knock-on effect on delivery dates, and quite a few manufacturers, understandably, are being quite coy as to when they think their items are going to be released.
Yes.
Because understandably, they don't think it's fair to be offering a delivery date and then having to constantly update it. I think at the moment there's no harm in saying that sometimes the best information that we have is we don't know.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so it avoids this disappointment as well.
That's true, yes. But as I was saying a few moments ago, if people do have questions about updates and things of that nature, delivery dates, then probably the best place to check would be the homepage of our own website, because we do our best to try and keep things updated there on a daily basis if we can.
Yeah. Or you can sign up to receive a notification email to let you know, and as soon as we receive anything, we shall forward the details onto yourself.
That's a very good idea, Brian, because even if it's something that we have on order and we haven't actually received a delivery date yet, as you were saying, people can have an expression of interest. They can have an email notification sent to them. It doesn't actually commit them to buying anything, but it does mean that we'll keep people updated as to when we get information in. Yeah. Have you been doing any particular modelling projects yourself at the moment, Brian? I've just been trying to go through the process of cataloguing my collection, and I've been finding that I've got quite a few duplicated items, so I'm probably going to be having a bit of a thinning down of the collection. Have you been up to anything of interest recently?
I've just been doing scenery on my layouts. Been wiring some signals up from both from aspects.
Ah, right, yes. And when you're doing the wiring up of the signals, I know that you do DCC, but are you using DCC to control your signals, or are you doing that on the traditional analog method?
I'm doing that on the traditional analog method to keep the wiring simple, but also if anything goes wrong, it's easy to just backtrack to see where the fault may lie.
I think I'm right in saying that even if people are using DCC for everything, the recommended approach these days is to have a power bus and a separate auxiliaries bus rather than run everything off one, because that apparently can also make things much easier with the fault finding.
It doesn't also to have things separated. You don't have everything wired up to the same bus wire, which may cause the voltage to drop in certain places.
I've just been past a very interesting historical snippet by a certain R. Davis, Esquire. He's found this in the company archives. We have here, there we are. Sorry, you might not be able to see that very clearly, but the letter heading in those days was obviously done by a rubber stamp. And I'll just try to read you what it's saying, because Norman was always on the ball. Dated the 9th of February 1972. Thank you for your letter. We can offer used Triang TT gauge items. Now that's very interesting, because Triang actually stopped production of TT in about 66, 67. So you do happen to wonder where Norman got those from, don't you, Brian? Oh, let's have a look what he was offering here. I won't go through the full list, but postage in those days was 15 pence per order. Now, you see, even in those days, Norman was offering a very fast and efficient mail order service. And I think that's the part of the business that people are probably most aware of, isn't it? And probably the part of the business that people make most use of, wouldn't you say?
They do. A lot of people do mail order these days, and they just they rely on the efficient service that we offer as well.
Yeah, because we try and turn around 99% or more of our orders within 24 hours, don't we?
We do.
Yes. Have we got any other visitors? It seems that the right-hand side of the screen there is getting rather busy.
We certainly have. We've got Nigel. Hi, Nigel.
Good afternoon, Nigel. Where is Nigel? Does he say?
He hasn't said.
Well, wherever you are, Nigel, I hope everything is working out okay for you in the present
Northern Ireland.
Oh, well, right. Well, Northern Ireland have already ahead of the curve in our case, rather than in our case, because they've already been doing things like shutting down schools, and that's going to be hitting us tomorrow, I think, isn't it?
Oh, there's one here for you, John.
Oh,
Nigel. Can you place wheels easily on older carriages, Triang, with Daniel's?
Well, it depends. If it's the really old ones, Nigel, where the axle comes all the way out through the axle boxes and you can actually see the metal ends, then driving the old axles out with a small nail or a very fine-ended screwdriver is not too difficult. You can drive out the axle and the two split halves of the wheels. But then what you'd need to do is to obtain some more up-to-date wheels. And I know it sounds a little bit drastic, but what people have done in the past is they've actually filled in the ends of the axle boxes, the outer ends, with araldite or a two-part epoxy glue, and let that go hard. And on the inside, while the glue is setting, they've actually placed metal bearings into which more modern wheels can be fitted. It's a bit of a DIY bodge, but it does work. However, if you've got later Triang models, I think from about 64, 65 onwards, where the ends of the axle boxes are closed and the wheels are running on rather crude metal axles, but with pinpoints. The actual metal axles themselves do have a pinpoint at each end. It's then relatively straightforward to ease the side frames apart, take the original axle with its rather crude plastic wheels out, and then insert the modern equivalent Hornby wheels, because I think I'm right in saying, Brian, that they're actually a direct replacement, aren't they? Hornby's wheels are designed as an improvement, as an add-on, aren't they?
They are, yes. So if they're exactly the same size and don't require any modification, so you just take the old ones out and replace them with the new ones.
So it's a straight take the old ones out and put the new ones in.
Yeah, right. They've got pinpoint axles. Okay. We've also got an interesting question from Warren. He says,
This is an interesting view.
Oh, here's Richard, our MD. He's just walked up with something that he says is of interest. Good heavens, it certainly is. What have we got here, Brian?
oh, Class 390 Pendolino in Engage.
Gosh, and this is the Revolution Trains one.
But
Rapido.
it's first Engage Pendolino
We
produced.
tilt it down so we can open it on the left.
Oh, that looks superb, doesn't it?
Should we get out, John? And...
I think we should, yes, yeah. Oh, so we're now becoming an unboxing video. No harm in that, not when it's something as fascinating as this. Let's have a go, shall we, and see what we can find. I'll just move the princess out of the way there. Right, let us see what we have here. Is this quite hot off the presses then, Richard?
Yeah, it's just arrived today.
Gosh. Here we go. Gosh, well, we have some very thorough instructions, don't we, Brian? Tell you what, I'll take the cover off there, and if you want to talk our visitors through what we have here, I'll get the second one ready.
Okay,
I'll just
so
move
this
off
is-
camera for a moment.
Take it, this is the 9-car set, is it, John?
Yeah, what we have here,
So in the pack, you'll get your, you can see, you get your 2 trailer cars, one pack, both with directional lights, 6-pin sockets, and then you get the 9 car to make the full formation of the unit.
yes, so we've got the 2 end cars and 3 intermediate cars in one, and then we have 4 more intermediate cars in the second box.
We've also got the detailing pack as well, to add extra detailing to the unit, should you wish to add that to the model.
It looks a fantastic model, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And then if I just take one of these coaches out, it also comes with couplings as well, which connect, which have to put the coaches in sequence.
But the instructions are very straightforward and very thorough. They do warn you exactly what to do in terms of how to couple up the whole rake together, don't they, Brian?
Certainly do.
Oh, that looks fantastic. Well, very many thanks to Richard for letting us have that one quite literally hot off the presses. There's not a great deal of ready-to-run Engage around these days, so I think that's going to be quite a popular item, don't you?
Certainly is.
Right, I'll put that carefully away in its box. There we go. Needs a little wiggle, but I think we're getting there. Yeah, we will.
There's an interesting question here from Warren, John.
Oh, go on. What's he saying?
What do you think is the best thing the hobby can do to attract young people? Being 16, the DCC starter kits do not impress me. I would say if there's nothing out there that you like at the moment, the best thing would be to design your own ride. There's quite a few. If you're computer literate, there's computer software where you can download onto your computer called Easy Rail, and you can put the size board that you think you will be planning to do.
And I believe there's a couple as well, if you're more technically minded. Is there AnyRail and SCARM as well that you can use? So there's track planning software out there. I mean, if you're an old fuddy-duddy like me, you probably prefer to be looking through a track planning book, but there are also lots of books out there which will tell you what you can easily fit into a given space. So does he say that he's interested in Engage?
Doesn't say. Would you be interested in Engage or double O Engage, Warren?
You see, the thing is, we have Pico and other people as well, but Pico do the 00 plan book. They also do an Engage one as well. And the plans not only specify exactly what area the track layouts will cover, but they also very thoroughly indicate exactly how many of each particular track item you're going to need.
Yeah.
So they're a very handy guide. And if you're looking for inspiration, then possibly something like the Pico 00 set track plans book or the Pico Engage set track plans book might just give you some ideas. You don't have to copy them slavishly. The idea is just that it will give you an idea, and maybe you'll just get that eureka moment, that light bulb moment, and you think, aha, well, what I could do is, now just lurking off camera is our esteemed MD, and he has an interesting looking cardboard box here.
That's interesting, Batman Unlimited.
Gosh. Right. Goodness me, that's such an interesting item. Right. Well, hats off to Batman for 10 out of 10 for the presentation on this. I'll just tilt the camera downwards a little bit, and then we can talk you through the items that we have here. Ah,
I've seen this one before.
now I've not seen this one for many, many years. It's the original, well, it's one of the anniversary packs that they did, and this one is for the Woolwich Moguls. We've got one in the original Southeastern and Chatham battleship grey for the locomotives that when they were very first produced in real life, I think 1917, 1918, and then the upper one shows it in the more common Maunsell Southern Olive Green livery. But it's a very interesting presentation pack, this, and it comes with the limited edition certificates. Yes. It's probably a little bit outside your time frame, isn't it, Brian?
It certainly is. I do more modern image.
Right. But certainly for people like myself who collect, shall we say, the earlier end of the spectrum, it's interesting. That is actually a pre-grouping locomotive, that one. So there we go. They don't actually come up very often, do they?
They don't. It's very rare.
And that's Era 2, isn't it?
Era 2, yes.
Yes. Era 2 and Era 3 in these. Right. So that's just another interesting item that we can show you.
This certificate number is number 482 of 1,000 made.
Yes. So not quite as limited as we were talking about before to the gentleman who was asking about limited runs. So I suppose these are the kind of limited production run that people tend to think about. And Richard's got another one here that he wants to show us as well. As you can see, it's another Bachmann limited production run. I love the wooden presentation boxes that they come in. They're superb, aren't they?
Oh, is it one of the military ones?
It's one of the military ones. It's one of the Longmoor Military Railway locomotives, LMR. And this apparently is the Sir Guy Williams model. And I love the attention to detail that Bachmann have put into this. The correct livery right down to the red underframes. It's a superb looking model, isn't it, Brian?
It certainly is, John.
Now, I think I'm right in saying that there's a few of these have survived. Don't know whether there's actually one in this livery, but there's quite a few Dub D 280s around on preserved lines, aren't there? Yeah. And I think I'm right in saying that there's also one of the Dub D 210s has been put into this livery as well. So they do make a very interesting looking model. I'll just angle the camera down again a little, just so our viewers can see it a little bit more. They probably prefer looking at this rather than looking at us, I would suspect. There again, this one's also got the limited edition certificate. I like that it's got a reproduction of the original nameplate on it as well. So just goes to show that you can get all sorts of items these days, can't you? Because we've got not only the new stock coming in, but although we're going through a little bit of a hiatus at the moment, we've got a vast number of pre-owned items which we have available. And let's just see if we have any more comments or questions from any of our visitors.
There's one from Nigel. Is there any future possibility of a 00 scale ice trains from Bachmann or Hornby?
Oh, the Intercity Express. Are they the continental ones? I believe they are. Now, I suppose the only problem with something like that is that would they be modelled to HO scale or would they be modelled to 00 scale? I think I'm right in saying that there was an ice service running through to, was it St Pancras International from Germany?
There was, yes.
Yes.
I think more so those units are normally done by likes of Fleischmann, or more continental than Hornby and Bachmann.
Now, I think they have been produced by some of the continental manufacturers, yes, and they would be very good models, but they'll have been produced to the continental HO scale, won't they?
They would, yes.
Yeah.
But still can be run on a standard 00 gauge track as well.
Yeah, for anybody who might be a little bit puzzled, the difference between HO and 00 is not the track gauge. That's the same, 16.5 millimeters. The difference is actually the scale, as Brian says, the size of the models, because British models are produced to 176 scale, 4 mil to the foot, and the European ones are produced to the much more accurate 187 ratio, which is 3.5 mil to the foot.
So if you line them up together, you'll be able to see there's a slightly different size and sometimes the height as well.
Yeah, I mean, there have been some manufacturers in the past who've tried to compromise. I think Trix many years ago tried to do a compromise 3.8 mil to the foot scale, and it didn't quite come off. There are other manufacturers as well in the past who've made forays into the 00 market. I'm thinking Rivarossi had a go with the Royal Scot.
He did.
Jouef had a go with the Class 40. That actually was to 00 scale, and a very nice model. I've got one in my collection. I've also got a Rivarossi Royal Scot. I'll have to get out more, I think. Do we have any more questions at all? Anybody asking us anything?
We've got Nigel is asking, is it copyright or demand? Trial of ice some years back in real life, but never happened.
It was a trial, wasn't it? And I'm not quite sure. But I don't think it's copyright issues. I think it's just the fact that we don't see the ice over in the UK very much.
No, it's more like overseas. So I think that's why you see like the likes of Fleischmann or Roco produce
I think so.
models, because it's more seen abroad than over in the UK.
Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. It's been gratifying to see on the right-hand side of our screen there that we've had quite a lot of people watching and wanting to join in. Hope you've enjoyed today's session. It was a trial to see if there would be any interest in it, and it looks as though it's going to be something that's worth repeating. And so it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
And thank you very much, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
I'm just going to go ahead and warn you. We've shut down BC